Hello, everybody, and welcome to Less Planning, More Learning. We're going to be talking about planning personalized, custom in-service days for professional growth with everybody today. We're starting to see everybody join us. Good. Before I introduce our speakers today, we're going to go over our agenda. So just a couple things to keep in mind. We will be recording, as you'll see again here in a second. We'll be talking about our keys to successful back to school in-service days. And then we'll be doing a little overview of professional learning and how to get started with that in a very personalized way with Teachstone. Okay, and as I just said, we will be recording this presentation, so just keep that in mind. And the good news there is that you will be able to receive a copy of this recording tomorrow after we are finished, along with our meeting slides and any other resources that we discussed today. We do want this to be as interactive as possible, so go ahead and use the chat box to interact with each other. I see a lot of you have already started introducing yourselves. And feel free to use the Q&A box to submit private questions. Our speakers will be paying attention to that, as I will be, and Megan behind the scenes will be monitoring that as well. So if you have any questions that you really want answered, that's going to be the best way to make sure that we see it. So let's turn it over to Erin and Kim.
Hello all. So I am Erin Sabina. I have been with Teachstone for a little over 6 years now. I see a couple of familiar names in the chat, some folks that I've worked with over time. And I am excited to be presenting along with my partner here, Kim Pold. Kim, if you want to introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. My name is Kim, and I hail you from the city of Chicago, where it's a little hazy today. I'm excited to be with all of you. And as I'm looking at the chat, I see so many fun places you're all coming in from. Florida, where else did I see? Baltimore, Virginia. That's so exciting. I especially loved the name of, oh my gosh, Panama. Wow, this is so interesting. There was a really interesting name of a center, Little Superheroes. Do you love that or what, Erin?
I saw that, yes.
I've been at Teachstone for just over 3 years, 3.5 years now, and enjoying every moment of the work that we do here, and just so pleased to be with you today.
Megan said, ooh, Virginia, I see you. She's in Richmond. I'm in Charlottesville, Virginia. So got a couple of Virginia folks here. All right. So what I would love to see to kick off this conversation is if y'all in the chat can chat in, what are some of the experiences that you've had when planning in-service days for your staff? So we'd love to hear what some of the awesome things that you've experienced are, along with any of the challenges as you're planning for in-service. And while we're having some folks chat in here, Kim, do you have any thoughts on what some of the great things that you've had some of your partners be able to do?
Yeah, so thanks, Erin.
In too little time.
Yeah, right. It's interesting because I've been on both sides of the table there, right? So I was a teacher for 1st and 3rd grade for many years before I joined Teachstone. And so when I think about how excited I was to go to in-service days, the things that excited me were the fact that I would get to have new content delivered. It would help me have a different lens to be able to think about my year in a little bit of a different way. But I also liked that it could be targeted, right, to the things that I knew were goals for myself personally or for our building per se. And then I also loved it when I had choice, so I could pick and choose where I could go. So that was like from being on the teacher side. And then when I work with leaders in planning in service, I know that they really talk about wanting to be meaningful, right? To be connecting, to make sure that it's not random, because we know that teachers just don't have random amounts of time. We're using up time. It better be respectful time used, right? Mm-hmm. I see you nodding.
There's some really good comments in the chat here.
Yeah, meaningful.
Yeah, so several people said a lot of information with too little time, different levels of training. So new teachers and seasoned teachers, time, location, finding space to deliver the training, difficult scheduling and the variety of knowledge levels.
Mm,
Educators feeling overwhelmed.
mm. Like too much to process, right?
Oh.
Yeah.
Planning for professional learning is challenging, but also so rewarding. Hi, Laura. Good to see you. So yes, that I feel the same way as far as if you really take the time to create a really great experience for your educators, it's so rewarding and folks feel so supported. And we know just in general that professional development helps staff retention and feeling valued in your growth. And
Because who doesn't like to be invested in, right?
Exactly.
Everybody likes to feel invested in. I love that comment, Megan, that you reposted because you wanted everyone to see it. That time to actually try it in the classroom. Sometimes there can be so much fed to you at one time. It's sort of hard to disseminate. What do I want to go and try tomorrow or right now back in my classroom? So thanks for sharing that comment. Really great stuff here. So I think that we are onto something here, Erin, with our topic for today, keys to successful back to school in-service days. What do you think?
Absolutely. I think that this aligns perfectly to, I think a lot of the comments were exactly what we were expecting and what we have had in mind with developing this offering.
Absolutely.
So a couple keys for delivering a great service or pre-service. First, keep it classy. So we want to foster interactions between adults. So we talk a lot of the time about interactions between adults and children, but the interactions between those adults are really important as well. So we're going to talk about a thing called parallel process. If anyone is familiar with what parallel process is, please feel free to chat that in. And what I would love to see too is thinking about if you are creating a professional development experience, what are some things that you can do to keep it classy? Meaning to show some of the dimensions that we know of the class tool and to reflect those with your educators. Let's see.
I love that. I was thinking about in terms of not just children, but the interactions that we have with each other. Super, super important. Let's talk a little bit more about those characteristics of Key One. Can we move the slide?
Yeah. So some examples here. Some of the dimensions for each of our domains. So teacher sensitivity. It's crucial that you are acknowledging the challenges that your staff members are facing at home and at work. Just as it's really important to do that with kids, to be mindful of what they're bringing into the classroom from outside of home, it's really important to do that with our educators as well, and to be mindful of, I remember I was working with a program one time, Kim, where it was years ago, I believe it was in New York maybe, when there were the gas line explosions. And a lot of the educators were living in hotels during the time. And so thinking about how do we now support these educators who are going through these challenges and still support the kids that are there.
That's right. And thinking about teacher sensitivity in terms of, okay, Zoom, let's just say it, right? We've been Zooming a lot because it's been hard to get in front of people, but there are ways that you can have quality interactions and quality engagement if you think about that piece when you are putting together your PD. So, I love when we think about productivity, right? Because, people not only have a limited amount of time, but we want to make sure we're giving you the biggest bang for your buck. And so thinking about productivity, and then of course, concept development, one of my favorites, Erin.
Yeah, exactly. So making sure you're maximizing that time. We saw a couple of folks talk about running out of time. So how do you make sure that you're packing the information in and having it be meaningful, but not running out of time and also not overwhelming? In concept development, build those in-service days off of each other. Think about how you can use other coaching that you're doing as well to piggyback off of the lessons and the trainings that you're doing to support other areas that you're working on with groups and with individuals, and make those clear connections, just like we have educators making those connections with real life, real world with our children. Do the same thing with your educators, parallel process.
Yep. I think it's respectful, right? To just lay out those connections right away. Yeah, I'm going to probably figure them out on my own. But if someone just says, hey, this is connecting to the A to B, that's helpful for me too. So what's another key thing that we can think about when we're putting together our PD?
So supporting staff with their social emotional learning. So this is not just social emotional learning is not just for kids. It's for adults as well. And so how does your team know that you care? It's so important to feel valued and to feel as though your leadership team supports you and cares about you. So what are you doing to be sensitive, but also be productive all year long?
Let's look at some of those things that you can think about, like acknowledging that ongoing and long-term trauma. Yeah, so yeah, COVID for the most part, right, is over. But there are some long-term effects, and we really need to acknowledge those and put those out on the table. Pretending that everything is okay is not always good and can feel like someone's not seeing you, right? And we all want to be seen and heard.
In being able to support yourself, it's that the analogy of putting your own oxygen mask on first. You can't be there to support children as well if you're not supporting yourself, or if you're not receiving that support for yourself. It's natural to just still struggle with our emotions and to not be able to show up fully if we're not taking care of ourselves above all else. And so create a list of things that you're doing to take care of yourself and also of your staff. And so one thing that I did in a presentation previously that we discussed was thinking about a colleague of yours that would be really great for you to be able to pull aside when you are needing to just kind of let something out and release it, or somebody that you can pull into the classroom if you need to take a step out. Not feeling scared to do those things and acknowledging that you need a moment as well in order to show up as your best self.
Creating a list like that, I think, also causes you to pause, right? And say, well, maybe I need to add a few things to this list. Because, as educators, we're taking care of everyone else all the time, all day long. And then we have our families, right? So that's another, thing in front of us. So I think that list and hanging it up, and just, making sure you're looking at it and asking yourself. And as a leader, I love the idea of creating a list of things that you're doing for your staff so that they can sort of see that you're in this with them, right?
And to keep it front and center and being kind of your North Star of what you're doing here, supporting everybody holistically. And connect yourself and your staff to personal and professional networks. So again, the personal network might be a family member that you contact. Professional network might be a colleague, or I always recommend our class learning community. It's a great spot, not only to be able to get that emotional support, but also if you're struggling with new ideas, if you feel like you're the only program that has ever gone through this, connect with other programs. I'm sure that there's somebody else who has been through something similar and can give you some suggestions, some tips of how they worked through it.
Class learning communities, I feel like, is such it's such a wonderful opportunity that so many people don't take advantage of. I know during the pandemic, when we were really looking for places to connect, class learning community really blew up, and it's still, such a great resource now that even we're back, back in person. But really checking that out, because it's like I always like to say it's like a Twitter for ECE people, right? They can really go on and find each other, and I would much rather connect with that group than sometimes the others. So yeah, check out class learning community, please.
In side note, there's another great program name in the chat here: Little Hands, Big Hearts.
Love that.
Affirm yourself and your staff. So how do you provide recognition? Feedback is an incredible thing. Not just constructive feedback, though. We have to have that positive feedback, that strengths-based approach, providing that recognition of, Kim, when you did that yesterday, that was incredible. That helped me so much. I saw the child's face light up. That was wonderful. Keep that up.
Yeah, a lot. Yeah, what a little bit, that 5 seconds that you took to acknowledge that teacher or that leader is so amazing. And then creating the wellness times for yourself and your staff, super important. I'm going to brag on Teachstone here at Teachstone. Teachstone, we have wellness times where, we are not to schedule internal meetings across the board because Teachstone understands and values that that's important for us. And so really doing that for your staff is so important. And then surveying your staff to find out, how are they doing? What's the social emotional climate? And maybe making those anonymous or not, however, but really just, it kind of goes along with the listening tour, right? Listening, being out and listening to conversations that educators have and hearing what it is that they're looking for support. All these great things in our key number 2 are so important.
Absolutely. And there have been some great comments in the chat as well. Always having their teachers' backs, always checking in with staff to see how they're doing. So it sounds like a lot of you folks are already doing some of these recommendations here.
Love that. And I love that you're sharing it with each other. Great job.
Absolutely. And lastly, make it flexible. So this was something that came up in some of the experiences that folks have had when planning pre-service as well, is the time that educators have to have the professional development. I saw a comment that commented on having night classes, having night courses offered for educators and how that makes it more accessible. Being able to have short bite-sized chunks of learning. I know that's one of the great things I love about our CDA is that we have those bite-sized digestible chunks that we can get into. So you don't have to have a full day of training every time you need professional development. You can make it flexible, make it meet your needs.
And if there's parts or pieces of that training that you didn't get to go to because maybe you opted to go in a different direction, right? So maybe there was to be able to go back and listen in, right? To be able to access that recorded session afterwards, because maybe you want to hear it again, or maybe you just didn't get to go to that session. I think that's really speaks to the flexibility.
Absolutely. So like other priorities may come up for in-service day. So what do you do if something else comes up, if somebody calls out sick and an educator that was supposed to be attending professional development has to stay in the classroom, or if the educator themselves is sick, what do you do? What sort of things can be asynchronous? So kind of mixing together live facilitated with asynchronous options that can be done on a more flexible schedule.
Love that. And I love the part here, utilizing little moments to free up longer periods. So when we're thinking about preparing back to school PD, sometimes we're like, oh, I have like 3 days with my teachers and I have to fill up every minute, right? So thinking about how, well, maybe one day I'll fill up some of their time with this targeted PD, give them small chunks, and then maybe for the rest of the day we'll do sort of a different kind of activity, or maybe it'll be free range time for them to meet in small groups to discuss what they just learned, like a PLC type. So just kind of thinking outside the box a little.
And also I love like team bonding moments, like a little team bonding activity that just really helps everybody kind of settle down from all the learning, have this group experience, and then refocus themselves.
Love it. Love
And
it.
just like one size fits all may not work for your children, it may not work for your staff's individual needs either. Some folks work really well via Zoom, some prefer in person, some prefer group, some prefer individual. How are you individualizing your professional development to not only meet the individual's needs, but also their interests?
Absolutely. So Erin, I'm thinking that if we, all of us here today together, think about some of these key pieces, we could really put together some amazing PD, and love all the suggestions. Let's see, Rochelle just said making individual videos to take care of procedures such as that can be viewed at their convenience, right? So everybody doesn't need to see some of everything that you're doing in that kind of an atmosphere. I love the team bonding, painting with a twist, set the environment. I love that classy language.
Bite-sized digestible chunks are so good.
Yeah, I love that too. That's great. So if we do all these things, we can spark engagement this back to school season. I know we can. And Erin and I are here today to talk to you about specifically how we think we can help you do that when you're thinking about class. Next slide, please. There we go. So short, personalized, and impactful. We have been thinking here at Teachstone, how can we meet you where you're at? In conversations with educators, with leaders, all of the things we've talked about today have come up. I don't have a full day of PD, or if I do have a full day of PD, it has to be broken up into smaller chunks. I don't have the bandwidth, my teachers don't have the bandwidth. And so really thinking through how that could look. Our teams, our internal teams have really been thinking that through. And how do we align it, right? How do we make it personalized and impactful? And so next slide.
And that's one of the things, Kim, that I think has been like a blessing in disguise almost of COVID, is this ability to pivot and add these new innovative models of thinking and learning. And I think some of this came from feedback that we had about virtual interact and the teacher summit and these great bite-sized digestible sessions that we were having that folks were loving for their educators. And so if you want to explain a little bit about what we see on our screen here.
Yeah, so here, what Teachstone has decided to put together for you are some customizable events. And here you have just a sample. So again, as we're thinking about setting up these in-service days or moments, I guess we should say, for our teachers and our leaders and coaches. These are just a few sample events that you might think about putting together. So what we've created here at Teachstone are bite-sized learning chunks. They all follow, and you'll see in a moment when we share with you, the domains and dimensions of class across all of the age levels. And what we allow you to do is to pick and choose and build a very customized schedule for what fits for you. You can see in the first example, I had a client who had 2 days with about 150 of their pre-K teachers. And so they wanted to split that up because they didn't want to do this all in one day, because they wanted to have different activities in the afternoon or the morning. So we set up a schedule, and they actually picked the topics that they wanted to address. And I actually helped my client pick these from their observation data. We really wanted to target and make this meaningful. And as you can see, sometimes teachers were able to select what sessions they went to, and some the organization wanted everybody to attend. And you can also see that in the second schedule that they really wanted to have some different trackings, like some for our experienced teachers that maybe have been using class for a while, but we want to meet them where they're at. And some new teachers or more novice teachers to class, right? We want to give them that foundational background. And then we also wanted to honor those that have that native language of Spanish. So we had a Spanish track as well. So just some ideas of ways that you can connect and target and pinpoint a customizable event from Teachstone. Here's a couple more to look at. Erin, as you look at these, just right off, at a glance, like what does that make you think of, or what's your feedback?
We saw in the comments some of the questions, some of the challenges of meeting different demographic needs, different age levels. So we see on the one on the right that we have various age level options and age neutral. We have options for educators and for coaches. I love that with the one on the left, it's a learning series. So maybe you only have one afternoon a month to do professional development. Here you go. You can have a session every month that you support your educators, your coaches, whatever works best, and build on that and create a whole game plan for the entire year and be able to have that access.
Love that. And I saw something Denise said, tracking this kind of training for teachers might be a lot. And I want to tell you that we thought about that, Denise. And so in this package of a customizable event, we offer a robust reporting feature where you're going to be able to take a look and see who attended, what sessions, how long did they stay. Each attendee gets a certificate for the accumulation of time that they spent at the event. So we really try to address so much. And then we also try to give you a high level reporting so that you'll know, like, what was the most popular session that was attended, or how many people participated in the chat, or how many total minutes did everybody attend. So really exciting reporting features that we would love to share with you if you are to reach out after to any of us at Teachstone, and we can talk to you about this. So of course I could go on and on, because you know I love reporting, Erin. But probably
and we'll get to see that a little bit.
Yes.
And Denise definitely said that would be helpful.
Good.
To have that reporting kind of handled on our end instead of you all having to manually do that.
Excellent. I'm going to share my screen now, if that's okay. And I'm going to show you what it looks like out on our demo environment. So can you see my screen, Erin?
Yes, I can.
Awesome. Okay. So what we do at Teachstone when you purchase a customized event is that we create a co-branded landing page for you. I love this part of it because it really speaks to your organization and allows you to shine. And so we have all of the information here about the event, and then we'll have a countdown for you and a place for you to register, or you provide us all the emails and names of the attendees you want to come, and we can just drop it in and send out invitations to everyone. We make it super easy. So I registered in this demo account yesterday. So I'm going to click right in here in Let's Go.
Wait, before you do that, Kim?
Yes.
Can you just, if you can scroll down and just show what it says, because it says, I don't know if you can go back now.
Yeah, I'm going to go back if it's going to let me.
Fine if it doesn't, but basically it customizes where it said sample client. So it said this is being put together by Teachstone, and insert your program name here essentially. So it's a customized landing page for your program.
Perfect. Thank you for pointing that out. I'm so sorry. I was
Absolutely.
so fast with my click.
Totally fine.
So it takes us here to our agenda where we can start to like move around. I can see right now at 8 p.m., 8 a.m., we could watch a recording on analysis and reasoning at centers. And when I toggle over it, it's going to give me a short description of what that is going to look like, that session. All of these sessions that we haven't mentioned are 45 minutes in length. So we've set them up in that regard so that, again, bite-sized learning, right? And then also so that you have time afterwards to move to your next session and to decide where you're going to be going, because that's really important. You have the watch recording now button. If maybe this had already passed and you weren't able to attend and you came back to the page after maybe a week, 2 weeks, you have up to 6 months to come back and watch these recordings. So you could watch the recording here. If you wanted to know a little bit more about our class consultant, you could click right on Tara Scott's name, and below you would see a little bio of her. Oh, and here we go. We're going.
Hi, amazing educator.
We'll stop there. Pause. Sorry.
Got some energy.
She has a lot of energy. I love that. So Tara's bio is right here. It tells you a little bit about herself. And then also every session comes with this downloadable, what we call our tip sheet. So if I click on that, it's going to take me right to where I can download is print this off or save it to my computer. And what a handy thing to have when you're going back into the classroom for your next steps. And what a great opportunity for PLCs afterwards. So really exciting things. I'm going to head back to the agenda here. What else do you want me to point out, Erin? What do you see that's just sticking out to you? I know my favorites, but I want to know yours.
Sure. So one of the things that I love is if you kind of mouse over where it says watch recording, and there's that little heart. So as there's 2 sessions right now, but say you have 18 sessions, like one of the samples that Kim did, you can favorite those sessions. So if you've attended our Interact Now, if you've attended our Teacher Summit, it's on the same platform. And so it operates the same way where you can create these favorites of, these are the ones I want to be sure that I am accessing. And so Kim, if you go back up to your favorites now, you could click.
And I go here, I put those into my favorites. I love that. It's like we're putting apples in a basket, aren't we? I love that idea. And then when we log in, I love the live now because I know what's happening right now, what is live, and I can go right in and join. In a larger sessions, you might see multiple titles listed. For our demo, you just see the one.
Similarly, in the upper right, we can filter. So if you're looking for sessions on a specific age level,
Mhm.
we can filter, and they're also tagged with different tags.
Love that.
The community.
Love community.
So
Here, I'll take in because I see you're having a little hard time there. So in community, as people register, they have the opportunity to sort of create their profiles up here. So I added a picture, and then you can add a little bio of yourself, and you can start messaging people. So if I wanted to send a quick message to Liz because I saw that she had registered and I want to chat with her, it's a great way to communicate during the sessions. I really love that piece.
that's another great point. If we go into the live session,
Okay, so we go back to agenda and we go to live now
and join it,
and join.
and you'll see on the right here, there's also a chat within the session. So you can be engaging with the other attendees in that session and having a chat thread just like we have in the Zoom chat here.
Love that. And I have actually been a chat facilitator for some of my programs. I love to do that because I like to get the know, to be in the know and see what they're thinking. And I love facilitating these chats because just like today, educators are so amazing at sharing, right? And so many great ideas come from not just our presenters that you see, but also from just, our people that join, because there's so much wealth of knowledge. So really interesting way that we set this up for you. Anything else?
Those emojis, so you can not only like the comments, but I forgot that you can click the emojis during the presentation and you see all the hearts flying in.
Oh, I love that.
People really engaging with specific messages during the session.
And I'm going to click on more info, but I'm not sure where that's going to take me. Oh, back to the home page. Here we go. So and now I can come down here and I can see you wanted to show them where we would be co-branded, right? This is
So join Teachstone and sample client. So that would be insert your program name here.
Perfect. So anything else we should show them? I feel like this is such a great website and web page that we build with you, along with all of the other pieces, the reporting pieces and things that we do. Maybe what we should do now, if you could share the slides again, maybe we could take them in and show them some of the session titles. I'm just wondering if they would really like to see some of those session titles now. Let's take a peek. There they are. Just imagine, those dimensions and domains for class. What we've done is we have tried to align session titles directly to those dimensions. And so you'll see that as you look at the different names and titles that we've given them. So you see we have age neutral sessions, which are so wonderful, right? We like to put some of those in there for those novice or newer teachers to class. We have infant and toddler. You see how they're broken out here. You see all sessions are available in Spanish. And then also for our coaches, one thing that's kind of interesting is that we know that maybe for our coach sessions, we want to dive a little deeper. So we offer those at the 45-minute session length, which we do all of our teacher sessions on, but we can also increase that to 60 or 90 minutes if you want to dive a little bit deeper. And then of course we have our pre-K offerings, so we can pull that up, and our K3 as well on the next slide. And you'll see those different titles. Now I've got to pull up my chat because I lost that when I was sharing my screen, but I'm hoping you're seeing some titles here, Erin, that really kind of speak to you and anybody in the audience.
So one of the things that I love is, so as Kim mentioned, these are broken down by which domain they mostly fall under. But some of these sessions can kind of go across domains, but also two, if you look at the names, you'll notice that we don't really have class listed in the titles. So these are a lot of sessions that, yes, they are about class and interactions and they align to our domains and dimensions, but you can also weave in some of the information to other things that you're doing, all the other things that educators need to know. So it's not siloed that this is a class training. But language at lunchtime, what else are you doing at lunchtime? You can kind of weave into this conversation. Let's see. Flexibility with student focus at small group. During
Yep.
small groups, what can you be doing?
So what we love to do is not only, do we sit down and talk about you as leaders and coaches as to what you want to see, because your staff best, but we also want to look at the data, right? Your observation data is going to tell you a story about where these titles might fit in the journey that your staff is taking with class. And again, that's where we come in with that targeted piece. So many of the leaders that I work with say, I've got teachers that are in different places and spaces, Kim. How can we, meet all their needs? And that's when we talk about those tracks that I showed, right? So just for infant, just for toddler, just for novice, things of that nature.
And if we can go back to slide 15 or 16 to answer one of these questions that came in.
Right.
So a question that came in, Kim, do we as the program preset a schedule, or do staff members have full choice in planning their own schedules, or both?
Oh, yeah, because we don't say flexible if we don't mean it. No, it is your choice. You tell us the date, the times, what do you have? Or maybe you don't know that part yet, but you want to say, look, Kim, Erin, this is what I want to accomplish. And then we'll work backwards from there. We'll say, okay, if this is where you want to be here, then maybe we could do this over the course of a few months. We could do this over the course of a few weeks. Every Tuesday at 1 o'clock for 6 weeks, we're going to focus on a different class session, right? And or maybe once a month, like we showed, or here we have a full day. Recently, last December 9th, I believe, I remember the date, one of my clients purchased an event for 400, all staff from, classroom leaders, everyone, educators, anyone that touched a child in the organization. And it was a full day. And, it was just this virtual, beautiful conference with people going in and out and going to the sessions that meant the most to them.
And so if you look at this one, so Kim, if you can speak to a little bit again of the options that were provided in these schedule offerings.
Yeah, for sure. So let's suppose that we had, so in the session day 1, day 2, my client had 2 days, but really didn't want to have a full day of virtual learning. And they wanted to break it up. And I agreed with them because that might be too much, too overwhelming. We might lose that sense of small bites, right? So I suggested we go into 2 half days. That way they could do other activities in the morning and then move into these sessions in the afternoon. And then again, we battled with how do we meet teachers where they're at? And so, I pulled up their observation data, we did some analysis, and we really earmarked the sessions that we felt would be best for those new teachers and best for the experienced teachers.
And so, Christopher, you can see in this that some of the sessions, there was teacher choice. So, for example, in the one on the right, experienced teachers could choose between session 1 or session 2, but then they were going to attend 4, 7, 10, 13, 16. Similarly, new teachers had to attend 3, 5, 8, 14, 17, but had the choice between 11 and 12. So it's to speak to that question, it's both, because you can create these ones that folks have to attend. You can also create choice where they can pick one or the other. And remember, you get access to the recordings. So you might watch session 12 live and then decide to go back and watch session 11. So you don't have to pick between them. You can actually do both still if you would like to.
Great point, Erin. And think about the ramifications of those recordings, right? So with that large event of 400 people back in December, on a monthly basis, that client asks me for the data so that they can see who's going back and accessing those recordings. And that's helping them tell a full PD, story for their organization. And then other organizations have shared with me, oh, well, my coaches go back and we use those recordings and we pull up those takeaway docs from each session and we revisit those in PLCs. So it's not a one and done. It really can, have that longevity, just depending on how your program really situates it and shares those expectations out with the staff.
I will answer this other question that came in a little bit. If we can go back to the what you receive slide, and Kim talk a little bit about some of these great offerings that are provided with our custom events.
Yes, I got a little bit ahead of myself because, of course, I do like that reporting piece because it's so important to all of you. I totally get it, right? You need to have some of that data. And so we recognize that. So you will get a certificate of completion, every participant, and we'll do that however you want it. If you want a certificate for every session attended, we can do that. Or in the case where we had the events over 2 days, that client chose to just do one cumulative certificate of participation, and there would be the clock hours that were earned on there. So that's part of it as well. Other analytical data is, really looking back at seeing what was the most attended session, what was the most engaged chat, and what was that around. So at a high level, we give you that piece. We also, of course, are going to give you a breakdown, right, of what comments that maybe came in. So we're going to show you, lots of that backstory in the post data piece.
And I have good news that came in, Kim.
Yes.
We've been saying 6 months access to recordings, but it is actually 1 year.
I am so excited about that. I've gone back and forth in my conversations. So yes, okay. We are happily corrected to 1 year.
Because I think it's 6 months when we do our conferences, but
Yeah,
1 year for this. So that is
perfect.
fantastic.
I love that. And notice the certificate, your logo here. So this is really going to be all about you. And one other thing is the co-branding event support is not just on the certificate, but we'll also create for you a flyer, okay, that will sort of announce this upcoming event. And we'll work with you to design it, use your logo, and it'll be a flyer for you to pass out and give to all of your staff and attendees that you want to come, sort of like to gain momentum, because this is really like an exciting event, something that's exciting to get together and think about.
And one thing, Kim, that you mentioned as we were planning for this that I got excited about is the ability to also work with your point of contact here at Teachstone to get swag sent too. So you can get some cool Teachstone swag to go with your conference.
Yes. So I've had some clients say, how could we even gauge higher interest? And so we'll do some raffles. Maybe we'll do the first 10 that register for the event are going to get a small gift card for a coffee at Starbucks. Who doesn't love that? Or maybe the most engaged people across all of the sessions are going to get maybe a Teachstone t-shirt or a mug or something of that nature. So we can really, that's why it's called customizable, because we can really customize it to your needs.
I love it. Okay, so we can go to the next slide. And the question that came in that I was holding off until we got here is there a maximum number of sessions that can take place at one time? What's the max on choices in one time slot? This is very interesting. Mm-hmm. So we have one of our event specialists here said that we've had 8 concurrent sessions at a time and 40 in 1 day. We could probably do even more. So the reason I was holding off onto this slide is because the pricing is based on the number of sessions. So the more participants you have, the more, having those concurrent sessions and all of that is really price feasible for you. And then also the other thing to think about is how far out are you planning? Do we have enough trainers available during that time slot? So we just need to make sure that we have enough folks to be providing those concurrent sessions. But otherwise, the world is your oyster. However you would like to customize this, we can go ahead and we can make those adjustments and have that conversation about what does your ideal professional development look like? A day, a couple days, a learning series, what type of topics, and really customize this to meet your goals and your program's goals and needs.
So Erin, while you're talking, I'm sitting here, again, the data, and I'm thinking, okay, if I've got, let's say 50 teachers, right? And I want to run, I want to do 4 sessions in a day. right? Maybe I want to start at 10 o'clock and do a 10, 11, a 12, and a 1. So that's 4 sessions. So if I quickly do the math, right, based on some of the data you're giving me, we're talking just about a $5,200 price tag. And if you divide that by the number of teachers that are coming, we're talking $104 per teacher, I think, if I'm doing the math right. I'm probably not, because I'm doing math on the fly. But I really want you to do the math. It's very affordable. I know when you hear the word customizable, you might be like, ooh, what does that mean? Is that expensive? No, I did the math correct. $104 for your staff to each have 4 different sessions targeted that they can go to. And of course, that's just something I know pricing is always in the minds as we put together our PD plans.
And so though it's customizable, we do have set pricing for up to 300 attendees. And then beyond 300 attendees, we would work out different pricing based on what you are customizing. Similarly, these are starting at $1,300 a session for the 45-minute sessions. If you're looking at the 60 or 90-minute coach sessions, then we would discuss pricing there as well.
I love that, Megan. You said if all 300 attendees came, right, for those 4 sessions, you got it down to $17 per person. It's just amazing. It's just amazing if you think about it.
Incredible.
Yeah. So I guess we really want you to understand that it's accessible to you, right? The price point is I feel like will meet you where you're at. So I hope that you'll, be thinking, I hope your minds are turning and you're wondering like, how could we work this out? How could we do this? What would be our next steps, Erin, if we had people interested?
I believe Megan has put in the form to fill out to contact your point of contact. So every program has a direct point of contact here at Teachstone. We would connect with you, chat through, hear what your goals are, hear what some of your challenges are, and work together to create a customized menu to be offering to your program.
Love that. So do we have time for questions? Anything coming in, Megan or Isabella? We've been
Yes, so we do have some time for some questions. If anybody has any, our question box is open.
So there is
feel
one
free
question
to drop it in the chat.
There's one question that came in that we didn't address yet. It's a little bit of a tricky question. In planning of what is class PD, how much should be covered on day 1? It's not a one size fits all necessarily. It really varies from program to program. It varies on what other type of learning you're doing, how comfortable is your staff with class, what point of the journey are you at? Em, do you have anything to add to that?
No, that's exactly right. And having a conversation with your Teachstone person is really going to help you really understand what you might want to offer. And, that's what we're here for, to help you talk through the needs of your staff, to be able to look at your data, to help that drive that decision, and to look at the titles and see what might fit.
Speaking of the titles, how do you know what the sessions are about based on the menu?
So we actually have a descriptor sheet that we can send you. So it'll give you a few sentences about what each of the titles is going to be talking about. The titles were really created to be, helpful in you understanding, like, toddler talk during outdoor play. We tried to be super specific so that would give you kind of an inkling as to what we're going to be talking about, but we can absolutely give you those descriptors, not a problem.
So that's awesome. And then we had somebody asking what the most popular sessions are as they plan their events.
Wow. Well, I'm going to say, family engagement and connection has been something that a lot of my clients really like to include because, we're always trying to make that connection between home and school. So that's one that's been really popular with some of my clients. Another one would be some of that language development, right? So like the self and parallel talk during outdoor play, language at lunchtime, modeling language in morning meeting. That always seems to be popular. And then if you look under the instructional support as well, those feedback loops, right? All of that is really surrounding the language. How about you, Erin? Have you had any?
So I just asked Liz, our wonderful events person, and she commented the top one last year was supporting learning differences. And then another big one is analysis and reasoning at centers.
Love that. Love that. And we have an amazing team here at Teachstone that helps to support these events. And just nothing brings me greater joy than when we can, provide this type of a PD opportunity to organizations. Our team works so hard to just, really make it the best experience possible.
And you may also know Liz from the class learning community if you're in there.
That's right. That's right. Anything else coming in, Isabella?
Another question.
Another
Yes,
one.
I think Erin's got it.
Are all sessions virtual or could they be in-person training?
Well, currently, these offerings are all virtual, just like our virtual conference that we have, our Interact. We do have an in-person Interact, but we also have a virtual. So right now, this is an all virtual offering. And we really find, that is helping to meet the needs that are still around at this point in time, post-COVID. And then also, again, just those bite-sized learning pieces. So if we are going to come in once a week over 6 weeks, this setup, right, and this platform really does apply for that and really raise that up to the highest level we can go and being virtual.
Absolutely.
Okay. Anything else, Isabella?
I don't see anything else at the moment. We do have a few extra minutes if anybody wants to add anything. Otherwise, we can wrap up early. Just to keep in mind, we have we're all over social media, so make sure to follow Teachstone on social media. I have to give that plug because I work in marketing, because you'll stay up to date on new product releases. If we make any changes to these offerings, social media is a great place to stay up to date with that. We can also get in touch with our presenters. Their emails are listed here. And we'll send you plenty of resources tomorrow about these custom events, about more webinars. If you follow our website, you'll see that there, and the class learning community. And then, of course, Megan's been dropping that link to get in touch with the team to get you started with planning one of these events. And if you have any other questions, we have another minute, so feel free to drop that in the chat. Erin, Kim, do you have anything else today to add? I'm really excited about this. I'm glad
excited
that
by
we're
the
spreading the
excitement of
word.
the chat.
Yeah.
Yes.
The chat was wonderful.
Yes, this is such a great offering. And it's a little bit like, not necessarily as well known as, say, like our CDA, but it's one that the clients who use it really get a lot out of. We do have upcoming events. There's going to be another demo. If you can't get enough of Erin, Erin's going to be leading us leading us at another one in August. So if you follow that link that Megan's dropped for upcoming events, you can see those there. And just like this one today, you can get the recording if you can't make it live.
Wonderful. And thank you, Erin, for asking me to be a part of this opportunity today. This has really become, such a gift to so many of the programs that I work with. And so I could talk all day about custom events and all of the different offerings. And you knew that about me. So you gave me that opportunity, and I so appreciate it. It's been lovely to see this wonderful, amazing audience. Educators are just so inspiring. And so I will leave our time today together inspired once again by all the people who do all the hard work out there every day.
Yes, Kim is our custom personalized events expert. We always bring her on when we want to talk about it. She's a pro, so you all are lucky today. And somebody did ask about the recording. We will be sending that out tomorrow. So just watch your emails. If you don't see it there for some reason, it will be posted in the resources page on our website, and you can also find it on YouTube. So plenty of resources coming your way.
Have a great rest of your day, everyone.
Thanks,
Thank you, everyone.
Well, look forward to hearing from you.